A simple bead stringing necklace can look anything but simple when you use really interesting beads to do the stringing. Today I have a necklace for you that features daggers and triangles and all kinds of interesting shapes. I think you'll love the possibilities for combining different elements from your stash. Hey there, creative people, Sandy here. Welcome to another jewelry making video at keepsakecrafts.net. I recently saw online a necklace that used a whole bunch of spiky beads to make a collar, and I thought it was a great idea and a great way of using these daggers, which I've had in my stash a long time. Aren't they beautiful? These are 15mm glass daggers in iris blue, and I just love them. I think the very first time I bought daggers was when I was at a bead show and I picked them up. I picked up a strand and I loved the way they felt in my hands, and that's why I bought them. So then it got me thinking about different things I could combine. I mean, I could just string a strand of these, but that would be kind of boring and not much of a tutorial, would it be? So I went digging through my stash and I found a few things that I thought would look interesting. This is a bead from the dollar bead box. I seem to have misplaced the tag with its name, but I'll have the link at my blog post for you. This is one reason I love the dollar bead box subscription, because they send you nice beads first, nice quality beads. It's a really good deal. For me, what's even better is that they send things that I normally wouldn't buy for myself. I would look at them and go, I tend to do that. I tend to look at things quickly, dismiss them, and then only later on do I say, oh, you know what, that actually wasn't so bad. What I think I'm going to do is actually make some dangles that will dangle down in between these dagger beads. Make kind of a focal in the center, and then the dagger beads will go further around the neck. So I had to kind of just dig through my stash and see what I had. I came across these, which are pretty cool. These are 12mm check glass table cut in opaque blue and purple with travertine. Again, something I would not have bought on my own. Now, this is cute, but it kind of looks too much like a face either way. So I was like, no, I think I need another bead in there. I like the colors, but I don't really want it to look like a face. And then I came across these. These are 14mm check glass striped triangles, crystal and blue. And what I like about these is, first of all, it's still blue, but it brings a little bit something different without being so different that it doesn't go. And I also like the way I could arrange the shapes to kind of nestle in. And if you get these at the dollar bead box, you actually get 4, so you'll have 2 of these left over, which would make a great simple pair of earrings. Now, the way these daggers are shaped, you really do want to have spacers in between them. So I dug out a whole bunch of different things to play with. And these are all beads from the dollar bead box. These are turquoise nebulous luster, 3mm. Those are pretty, but Northern Lights, that's kind of pretty. But one thing I've noticed is that with the exception of these ones, all of these beads have this kind of iris, lustery finish. And if you have too much of that in a piece, it's just too much sparkle, sparkle, and it really gives the eye no place to rest. So even though those are pretty and they go, I think it's a little too much. These are crystal gold lined, which is nice and something different. I might actually use these to make my dangles. I think that would look good. And that leaves these, which are 4mm pewter spacers in antique brass. And I think this is enough of a difference. It's a great spacer. It'll fill that space nicely, have some of its own presence, but it's a different finish that works but isn't so sparkly. So it's just kind of a resting place. It'll be a good spacer in between those. And then that will kind of tie in the gold that I'm going to use here. So let me first make my dangles. I'm going to use bead stringing wire and crimps to do that. So I'm going to cut a decent length, like maybe 6 inches. My dangle isn't going to be that long. Of course, you could make yours that long and make them quite dramatic. Just a crimp at the end. Maybe a crimp and a, do I have crimp covers in that color? Yes, oh good. So I have crimp covers in an antique gold, which looks very much like these beads, so that'll be perfect. I'll put those on the ends. So I've got my one-step crimper, but you could also use crimping pliers. And you don't have to make your crimp right down at the very end. I think it's easier to just give yourself a little room to work. Crimp that on the wire. And you can just leave it like that. It's a pretty neat finish, although I think this hole might be a little big. And would you look at that? Here I've been thinking that this was drilled that way, and it's not. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this differently. Now I'm redesigning because for some reason I assumed that was drilled that way, and I didn't even check. Silly me. That's all right, we'll make it work. So I'm gonna cover that crimp with a crimp cover, as you might expect. I love using my crimping pliers to do this. There's a tool out there I found at Michael's called a crimp cover closer, and I don't like it at all. I think it's just plain irritating. So now once I have that covered, I can go in and trim that. There. Now let's see. It might be. I know these are drilled this way. I can see the hole. Let's see. Yeah, I don't really like that. I think that's too big. Too chunky. What about this one? Oh, that's kind of cute. Okay, so that'll work for that. Now I'm just going to string on a few of these 3mm check fire polish beads. Normally I would work this differently. I would make my center dangle first, but due to my not planning well enough ahead, that's okay. Sometimes it's good to just design these things on the fly. And sometimes the surprises and problem solving and limitations that you come across really only serve to help you make better decisions and get more creative, and often the result at the end is better because you had to change something. Let's see, I'm not sure how long I'm going to want that to be. So I'm going to have to change what my plans for that center one. So what if I had just these beads going up either side? It's kind of a different way to suspend a pendant. I don't really want it strung in the midst of the daggers. I have it in my head and in my thinking to have it dangling below. Now there I strung on some of those brass beads, and I think I like that look better actually than the gold ones. So now the little gold lined ones. So now I'm wondering if I would like it better on these too. So now I have to test that out. So I've done a bunch of stringing just in preparation for doing some testing to see which ones I like best. So I've got the brass and the gold line both on the pendant. And like I said, I think I like the brass better. And I also did this with these just to kind of see. Brass on that side, and there's the gold lined on that side. Which do you prefer? Let me know in the comments. I'd be interested in knowing. I definitely like this better without the big ball on the end. It just kind of looks clunky. It looks good here. I sort of like the gold lined here and here, but I like the brass here. Maybe alternate the brass and the gold lined here and have just the gold lined on these. So here it is with the beads alternating on this strand. It does tie in better, but I don't know that I love the look. It's just kind of busy. although it does take away from the heaviness which you have over here. So I guess you have to decide what you want for proportions. Do you want it lighter? Do you want it heavier? I'm just not sure. And this is a good time sometimes when you're designing to just set your piece aside on a table, walk away, maybe come back in an hour or later that day and see if, you know, something jumps out at you, and you might look at it and say, oh yeah, no, I don't like that, or whatever. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be back in a bit and let you know what I've decided. Here I am several hours later, and like I said, once I walked away from it and then came back after a while, the decision was actually really easy. It jumped out at me that I liked these much better than I liked the gold-lined beads. Is that the decision you would have made? What do you think? I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts. But now I'm just finishing up my dangles. I spent quite a bit of time just laying these out and trying to decide how long they were going to be in relation to each other. And I just need to finish up this other one with the little triangle bead. So I've got my wire here with the crimp on the end. And I thought I would show you a great trick for stringing beads a little bit faster than one at a time. If you have them already on a strand, you just pinch them between the thumb and forefinger of your non-dominant hand, as many as you can, securely pinch. Slide out the stringing material. Don't roll your fingers or move them at all. Just hold them steady, and you should be able to slide in the new stringing material. All right, I got all but the last one. So I got 5 on there at once. So that's a great little trick for stringing. So many of you have told me that you enjoy my videos and you find them helpful and inspiring, and that just makes me so happy, because that's what I set out to do, is to inspire and encourage you to try things and just jump in and see where you get. So let me show you how to finish this. In the meantime, you're going to slide on a crimp and then a wire protector. So if you like my videos and you would like to get more, I publish a video every week. Every other Tuesday I publish either a jewelry or polymer clay piece video. And on Fridays, every other Friday now, I publish a Friday Findings video. If you would like to get more from me, my patrons have the opportunity to get up to 2 bonus tutorials every month. So if that's something that interests you, you can check that out at Patreon. My patrons also get behind the scenes, little bonus things. Sometimes I send along free downloads, or just, you know, just extras to say thank you for your support. It does make a big difference. What I did here was I sent the wire through the wire protector and then back through the crimp. And you just go ahead and crimp this, leaving a little bit of slack. You don't want to pull it tight or it won't hang nice and dangly. It'll be stiff. I'm going to pop it in my one-step crimper, back it off a little to loosen it up and also to leave a little room for the crimp cover. Always grab that and give it a good pull and make sure that it's not going to let go. Sometimes they don't crimp well and they pull out, and it's much better to do that before you've trimmed the wire than after. I love that these crimp covers that I have almost perfectly match the beads, so that's wonderful. But if you don't have crimp covers that match perfectly, most of the time they don't, just find ones that go, that work. You just slide that over. You notice I'm holding it with crimping pliers. That does a great job. There. So there's our little dangles, and I'm going to finish both ends of this one the same way. I thought I would show you this here. Stringing this piece is kind of like stringing a mini necklace. When you string the first end, you don't have any worries about tension really, except not maybe putting it too tight up against your wire protector. You just crimp it, you test it, then trim it, then add a crimp cover. It's when you get to the second end, you do the exact same thing, crimp, wire protector, back through the crimp, but that's the point at which you'll pull this and leave just a little bit of slack like I showed you in the other one. Finishing this is done the exact same way you're going to finish the ends of your necklace. The first end is easy, you don't have to worry about tension, and then the second end you do want to be sure to build in a little slack so that it will drape gracefully. My little dangles are all made, but then I realized I was having so much fun using these beads to make my dangles that I don't have that many left. If you want to make something similar to this using these beads from Dollar Bead Box, I suggest you go ahead and order another strand. Fortunately, I do have a stash, and I found these, which are similar. They're similar in color and size, so they'll work well. Now it's time to do that simple stringing I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I'm going to cut about a 20-inch piece of bead stringing wire. Probably won't use all of that. I'm going to make the center of my necklace. I often do this. I'll make these beads with these dagger beads in this focal section, the center, and then finish it around back with some chain. I'm not sure. I think I want this to hang kind of straight, so I probably want it maybe just on either side of a single dagger bead. So let's try that. We'll try put it through the loop of the wire protector. I'll add a spacer, a dagger, a spacer, and the other loop of my pendant hanger thing. Not sure what to call that. Let's see. No, maybe they need to be spread apart a little bit more than that. Let's try another dagger and another spacer. I usually prefer odd numbers. I think that could use one more. The weight of this is going to pull it down, and see how those are kind of moving awkwardly under there. So that's good. I'm glad, because now I have an odd number in the middle there. I think that'll look best. Oh, I like that. That looks good. I mean, that's hanging. I think that'll look good. Now to decide the spacing of... Do I want to... Yeah, I think I do want another spacer on the other side of that. Is that too close? Yeah, maybe just one more of these. This is one of those things you have to test, try out, see how it suits you. Make sure to pick it up, see how it hangs, because it will look a little bit different on the table than it will hanging on a neck. You can even try draping it over a bust to get an idea. Then I will just carry on for, I don't know, a few inches around the side of the necklace, alternating these brass beads with my daggers. And that will be the necklace. So simple stringing, but like I said, it looks anything but because of the choices we made. A lot of crimping because of the little dangles, but I think it's a fun way to add beads. You could certainly put them on head pins and save yourself a bit of work. Just add long head pins with a loop at the end. But I kind of like the way the bead stringing wire moves. We'll just carry on that way, and I think that'll be a really cool, unique necklace with, like I said, pretty simple basic stringing. The most complicated part is choosing your materials and then making all of the decisions. So I hope you enjoyed this project and that it has inspired you to maybe use some beads that you have in your stash. maybe unique ones that you weren't quite sure what to do with. If you're new to my channel and you haven't subscribed yet, then I hope that you will, and also take a look at my Patreon page for how you can get bonus tutorials and rewards. Happy creating. Bye-bye.